Okay, now we are going to declare our amazing conference open and with a keynote address. And I'm very, very proud to introduce this next person. This gentleman's name is Rustum Southwell. He's best known for as founding CEO of Black Business Initiative, that's a BBI. Originally from St. Kitts, Southwell arrived in Halifax in 1972 and has been contributing to Nova Scotia's business landscape ever since. Southwell began his business career in the food industry as one of province's first Black franchise owners. After several years of managing restaurants, he moved on to become executive director of the African Canadian Business Development Center. In 1996, Southwell became founding CEO of BBI. His leadership has resulted in 25 years of unprecedented growth and impact. BBI has created over 1,500 jobs. 1,500 jobs, ladies and gentlemen. 1-5. And provided business training for over 1,000 aspiring entrepreneurs. Recently, Southwell led the organization into the next phase of growth by expanding across the Atlantic province. In addition to business excellence, Southwell has demonstrated his commitment to community. He served as co-chair of African Heritage Month Committee and as the first chair of Hope Blooms Youth Ventures, Inc. He has also served on many boards. These include Halifax Chamber of Commerce, the Waterfront Development Corporation, now Develop Nova Scotia, and United Way Halifax. He's a member of the Board of Governors of Nova Scotia Community College, NSCC, the Black Loyalist Heritage Society, and the Community Consultative Committee of the Halifax Sinfield International Airport, that's the HSIAA, and among many accolades, the Queen's Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal. He's received honorary doctorate degrees from Dalhousie and St. Mary's Universities and his honorary diploma from NSCC. People, welcome to the podium, Rustum Southwell. Did I just read all that and it's not here? Is he? He is? Okay. All right. Welcome, sir. That would have been a mic drop moment for an MC. Never happened to me before. Thank you. It's a great honor. Welcome.
Sorry, good morning. I was waiting for the guy to play tape. I don't know if you can play that now.
It just hit me after working for someone for so long and just getting laid off. My coworkers were more upset than me, and you know what they said to me? Darla, you're a single mom with 2 kids. How could they lay you off? And I said, you know what? Everything happens for a reason. I said, now it's time for me to go and pursue that business that I wanted.
In the beginning, with my computer, all I know is how to send emails and receive. But I spoke to somebody in BBI years ago, and he told me there's a course the BBI offer at Dalhousie. As a matter of fact, I joined that course, and on that very course, I was taught even how to do my website, how to do my bookkeeping. So a lot of information that I cannot on my own be able to obtain, I obtain them free. And I'm thinking, this is free, give me more.
You see a lot of guys that live here feeling empowered, feeling like, okay, I'm gonna go do it, and they go do it. We're at that position where we can change lives, where we can bring the best out of people. And it's exciting because that's something I like. I enjoy my job, is learning about their businesses and telling them, have you thought about this, have you thought about that? And you're living there like, wow, what happened?
There's no one else who's doing that for our business, for the businesses in our community. Like, we're trying to get them going, get them set up, get them growing and all that. So it's unique what we do, and it's an important job, and it's nice to be part of it.
We want to be with you for the long haul, not for just tomorrow. We want to be able to be successful 3, 4, 5, maybe 10 years down the road.
A lot of people don't do it. A lot of people don't have the courage to do it. Some of the fairs they have, they're just trivial. They're just small. Even if we don't have the answers for you, we're gonna find the answers, or we're gonna find the person that has the answers for you.
Don't embrace the fear. I would say, do it. And for the most part, you most likely will be well at it.
They trust in us that they're gonna come and they're gonna receive a service that is of excellence, that we are able to provide them with the right information at the right time for them to make the right choice to grow their business.
It's not always about giving you money necessarily. It could be about educating the business owners, but also about elevating the profile of the business, being able to make those connections that really raises the profile of the business, which is so important. And like I said, you can't put a dollar figure on those a lot of the time because most small business owners just wouldn't be able to afford that.
What I'm really excited about, what I'm looking forward to, just to see that connection, just to see our community grow, to see young talents come up with new ideas and you know, ideas that have never been seen around the world. I believe it can come from our community. I believe it can come from Nova Scotia. I believe it can come from the Black youth.
For our youth, I just expect greatness from them. It's going to happen, and they're the ones that are gonna make the BBI the next 20 years a really great 20 years and a prosperous one. And it's gonna continue. We're not gonna end.
It's having a commitment. Because if you're not committed to the business, your business is not gonna succeed, right?
If we could just take another step forward, take control of our own futures by starting businesses. Not only is it fulfilling for us, each of us personally, but it's fulfilling for the whole community, and it shows. It shows.
I made the conscious decision to say, you know what? If I'm gonna survive in this world, then I'm gonna provide a service that I'm gonna help somebody else so that I don't put myself out of business or not be employed.
There's no place that I know of that has this type of support. I definitely didn't have it in the Bahamas. They still don't have it today. So I want them to realize how much they have and to take advantage of it.
Come to the edge, he said. We can't, we are afraid, they responded. Come to the edge, he said. We can't, we will fall. Come to the edge. They came. He pushed them, and they flew. The first time I heard this short poem by Guillaume Apollinaire, it made a powerful impression on me. I felt pulled by this poem without really knowing why. I got so much from it, but I did not really know what. Now, in my senior years later, I decided to look at this short poem with a broader perspective and try to articulate what I see in it. It is the consummate definition of visionary, risk-taking, and thinking outside the box. Sharif, thank you for inviting me to this session. Edmonton, I'm finally back after over 40 years, and thank the mayor for getting me back here. And I think when they were referring to young people, you know, it made me quickly think about my age, you know, compared to the youth and the future as well. I did pass the biblical allotment of 3 score plus 10. And as people refer to me in kindness, normally say, I've been around since the Rock of Ages was but a pebble. So thanks for the time and the MC with the marvelous introduction. And I hope that I'll be able to get the 5 minutes back it took to read that as I continue the presentation. It is a pleasure to be here to see the work that so many of us are doing. And I'm so proud of Africa Center under your leadership and Sandra and the others on the team in putting this conference together, because I know it's not easy work, and community work has never been easy work. And just having a quick scan of the so many faces who have come over this morning to say hello and others who I know I will touch base with in the room, just if you can bear with the presentation over the period of time, which will take you through many tools. Some you can use and some you can say nah, as you do this type of work. And just for me to get a sense of what I'm dealing with, in terms of getting involvement versus commitment, a show of hands, how many people here would say that they're involved? All right, and maybe a show of hands, how many people would say that they're committed? Some of the same people, but yeah. So just so you know, as you go through your life and you want a quick definition of the comparison between involvement and commitment, just think about having a breakfast in the morning, let's say a bacon and egg breakfast, and you're eating your breakfast as well, and you're thinking about involvement and commitment. Just remember this, that the chicken is involved, the pig is committed. And so, as we do this type of work, we know that the pressure is on us, and we know we have to be committed. Some people have given their lives for less. Others have given their family, farm, to do these type of things. And once you've decided to join this work, it is the work of a lifetime. I know Sharif will tell you, it's not always rewarding. Some of the people who benefit from it are your worst critic. But you need to push through those times. I can easily recall when BBI first started, taking the ferry between Halifax and Dartmouth. I stepped too close to the edge and fell into the Halifax harbor. And I took it on myself to walk across the water the rest of the way. And to my chagrin, the next day in the media, it was saying, BBI CEO cannot swim. Those are the type of things that you get when you're in this field. And for me, I know as we all are in this struggle, that it is about time. And it's about us. So standing here, I adapt the protocol established earlier today. And thank you so very much for the warm welcome to Edmonton. In fact, I was referring to Sandra and saying, I couldn't have got a warmer welcome because I came into Atlantic weather, foggy, rainy night yesterday, and felt so nice going into the hotel room. It felt like I was going into my own bed. So I had a good sleep. I'm also flattered and honored and humbled to be placed among the distinguished guests who have spoken just ahead of me. Sorry. Who have spoken just ahead of me, including the mayor, who so passionately spoke about his work for diversity as well. In this room, there's so many renowned business owners, thinkers, inventors, and many more savvy than I am who are recognized for their work over the years. So please, give yourself an applause for joining this session. You're doing good work for the Black people in Canada. I must also join in offering my thanks to ESDC for the support in the Supporting Black Communities Initiative, but in particular, our partners, the Africa Center, for hosting such an eminent conference, and the other two intermediaries, Tropicana and Groupe Sunset of Quebec, and commend them on an exciting journey of a life of hope, growth, and fulfillment. And to thank you for being on this exciting ride where we actually know right now it's good to be Black. Would not have it any other way. This is, to me, a highlight in a short life, a lifetime that has now passed. I thought somebody would repeat that, the biblical score of 70 + 10. Some people say that with age come wisdom, but sometimes the cloud passes people, and I guess I might be one of them, but I hope to make up for it. To be asked to keynote this meeting in Edmonton, Alberta by Africa Center is a prized jewel in the many things that I've done in my life. I think the board and staff of the organization I represent, BBI, would be happy to know that they were represented here. And I think this is an example of a community that not just surviving, but thriving. The journey hasn't been short. It's been 2.5 decades, as we said, 26 years plus. But we can feel pleased that we can now see progress, material progress that's happening across the country. Black Business Initiative have been in Canada changing lives and entrepreneurs and making it easier and for some ways much better than it was before. The BBI is now hailed and showcased as a best practice business case, as Sharif was saying, in development organizations, and we've been asked to support and advise. And the list of items the MC gave, there's so many, no need for me to go through those, but ideally the ones that has been impactful for the BBI is the ones that has really moved the community one step forward. We have many ex-staff members who are now in major senior roles in government. We've been part of the FACE Coalition that's doing the Black Entrepreneurship Program across the country with over $200 million in jobs. But most particular interest is the Supporting Black Communities Initiative. We have started on a very small amount of funding, has now been granted a significant more funds than before. And indeed, the 4 intermediaries in the last 2 years has distributed over $60 million to grassroots Black Canadian organizations. The Black Network of Financial Intermediaries Network consists of Africa Center, Groupe Transet, Tropicana, and the BBI. And it is the advocacy and work that they've put in that has created what you're seeing now in the government policies that's creating stronger Black organizations across the country that's doing significant work that has never been seen for decades and decades, and it is you who are creating that. No matter the reason, my hope is that you will at least realize that we have more in common than we are different. And we are all in this to create a better nation for ourselves, our families, and our children to love and cherish and to live in. It is about time, and it's about us. My own journey began when Sir Caleb Azariah Paul Southwell, my father, was motivated by a vision and desire to develop a strong family with good values and an understanding of mankind. His legacy to us, his children, was simple. There's only one way to do things, and that is the right way. I sat at the feet of a transformative leader who took on agriculture and peasant farming economy and transformed it into a vibrant tourism governance model in the country of St. Kitts. And I always recall sitting at his feet and would forever understand how life can change on the whip of a second and a dime. Sitting in my home in May of 1979, 17 would be probably correct. 1979, I got a call from my now wife that my father died suddenly in St. Lucia. He was on a mission to create in the Eastern Caribbean the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, and at a conference at that center, which created the OECS, which is all the Caribbean islands forming a governance body except for the larger ones, Trinidad, Barbados, and Jamaica. It was that Friday in that conference when they finally signed the mandate that he passed away suddenly. And my life changed in an instant. Instead of having this young man hopping off to Edmonton and other places in Canada, I now had to reverse and change my life in a direction that I hadn't anticipated, with tools that later on I will identify that I didn't know I had. It was in that moment in my life I understood a significant difference in surviving and thriving. I thank Sandra and Sharif and others who have designed the theme when they spoke about sustainability in speaking about thriving. Because in order to thrive, you must be more like the pig than the chicken. You have to give something. You have to give your soul in order to thrive. And for me, at that stage in my life, I hadn't been mature yet to realize there was a difference. Thriving requires different skills. Thriving is like flourishing. It's speaking about excellence. In order to just survive, it's like, surviving anyone can do. It's mostly average. It's almost boring. There's no stress, no passion, no excitement. For folks who will thrive, they are different. When you're speaking about thriving, you have to come to the role with something to give, not something to get. When the match was called by Sharif and his team to say we need to talk about thriving grassroots black community organization, he was right. It's a different struggle. It's a different time. It needs new people. Frederick Douglass, the abolitionist in the US, said, if there is no struggle, there is no progress. Thriving. Dr. Martin Luther King, we shall overcome. How many times you've heard that in your life? We shall overcome. Say it to yourself one time. Make me feel good. I hear you. I hear you some more. Almost there. I think you got it. Malcolm X says the bullet or the ballot. Take me, I'll take you. I gotta be there. We either go political or we go revolutionary. Those are people who are thriving. I had only been surviving, and then that traumatic loss says there's more to life. Well, if you're doing this for your community, if you're doing this for your people, then take on the commitment, not just to be involved. We need the involvement too, but we need the commitment. Just like the bacon at breakfast. We don't need you to give your life, but come close just to get it right. I think as we look at these areas in those times, there's so many chances, so many opportunities, so many areas where we can do what was asked of us, and we would have stepped back without seeing the opportunities. And the opportunities, although in front of us, we may not think that we have the correct tools to deliver on those. Some years ago, after September 11th in the US, my wife and me were visiting, and we went to Ground Zero. And I thought that we were going to see the devastation, but she was going shopping at Century 21. Everything was fine on our way there, nothing out of the ordinary. But as we returned to the hotel, it began to rain. And as the rain fell and we walked in downtown New York, on every corner, in everyone's hands, there just appeared umbrellas. If you've ever been in Manhattan when it rains, just umbrellas. People walking down the streets, there were umbrellas hanging on the pylons. The guys who were selling bagels and pretzels were now selling umbrellas. There were polka dot umbrellas, pink umbrellas, blue umbrellas, short umbrellas, big golf umbrellas. And as we ventured back to the hotel was giving out free umbrellas. Just with my luck, we took the umbrellas and we get outside and the rain had stopped. And just like yesterday and today in Edmonton, the sun was out. Not an umbrella in sight. And I'm wondering if my intuition and someone was trying to tell me something. Because in the time it took to maybe eat lunch, hundreds and maybe thousands of umbrellas were sold across New York in response to a market need, an opportunity. And once the skies cleared, the sellers had disappeared and they were back selling hot dogs and pretzels. And I said, when it rains in New York, they sell umbrellas. You see the need, you see the opportunity, and we need to respond. So don't set up yourself as you go through this conference to only do the things that you're looking at. Look at the need. Look at the opportunities. And what are you doing about it? In the pace and the highlight of a market change, we need to respond. Whether it's COVID or other changes, we have to respond because that matters. That's what matters to us. That's what matters to our community. Find a need and fill it with a job or a business. The blue skies theory states there's always a market out there. We got to figure it out. We have to find the right product, the right time, and the right people who can make that change. A true entrepreneur knows your job is to find it and fill it. And I can tell you, Eaton's, which is a big company, they learned it. After a certain time, if you're not changing to tech or whatever, you're falling behind. And the same as in not-for-profit communities. That's about thriving. If innovation is the first trait, perseverance is the second. Never, ever give up. Think. Success is not final. If you win, don't stop. Failure is not fatal. If you lose, don't stop. It is the courage to continue that counts. That's not my words. It's Winston Churchill's words, if it makes you feel better about the authority with that. So instead of, at your first success, buying that Mercedes-Benz or that limousine, think a little bit and plan ahead. And the first time someone tell you no, then don't go, I went to Sharif and Africa Center and they didn't give me any money. Think ahead and do some plan. It is important. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. Powerful in its simplicity. Always continue when you're doing well because you can always do better. Everyone fails at something at some time. Get back up on your feet and move on. Continue on the end. I have a friend who most people thought he was crazy, but he always used to say, Rustum, if you fall down flat on your face, don't worry, you're still moving forward. But that is what we're missing. Those two traits speaks about leadership. And in this realm, there are several avenues, and none of these are more important than a clear sense of direction, because leaders make decisions and not excuses. Leaders make decisions and not excuses. They do the first things first and the second things never. Always your top priority. You can take that note down. Against a backdrop of local and national and international headlines, in 1996, the year which happened to be the International Year of the Eradication of Poverty, Kofi Annan, elected to the Secretary General of the United Nations, that's when the Black Business Initiative began. I'm going to take a moment to go through a few slides for those of you who don't know the organization as well. So that you know, the BBI is a targeted business development initiative in Nova Scotia, and we've been there since 1996. We're funded by the federal and provincial governments to do several things. Our purpose from Simon Sinek, the why that drives an organization. When we are speaking about the passion, when we are speaking about why do you wake up and do things and feel like you have to go to work and have to work, we thought it's changing lives by creating economic independence. The vision and mission, which have lasted for years, a dynamic Black presence in the broader business communities, is also important. And of course, our mission, which is to positively implement Nova Scotia and the broader Canadian business community as well. I use this slide because I wanted to show what community impact can do. Because these initiatives, independently strong initiatives, even on their own, when you look at, it is like people like you with these not-for-profits. We actually created a cultural tourism strategy that drove this. And if you look at the top side of it, there's a museum by the Black Loyalists that started with $2,500 from BBI some 20 years ago. That's a $7 million museum with cultural tourism for the Black Loyalists in Nova Scotia. And for those of you who were in Halifax for our business summit, you would know just about all of the others in that slide because they would have been on the visit. Africville, the historic community that was bulldozed to build the second bridge in Halifax, the museum, that was also helped by BBI. And that museum was in the realm of about $2 or $3 million. Again, $5,000 business case, that was settled. The Black Cultural Center, total refurbished. And Hope Bloom's Youth Ventures, which is an entrepreneurial, energized initiative for Black youth and other youth in Nova Scotia, was created from that. So don't sell yourself short when you're at this stage. Crawl, walk, run. Those things take time. Of course, the Costa, the Akuma Center, and African Nova Scotia Music Association are similar not-for-profits who we've helped in the same way, and that's part of the Cultural Tourism Initiative. And we keep it simple. What do we see as a future? We talk about thriving, and that is a world-class development model that connects people, opportunities, entrepreneurship, and enables the next generation to build and prosper. Significant to us, and we mean that. Just gonna, maybe we can show the next video.
The BBI was created in response to the unique needs for Black businesses in Nova Scotia. Most people think that it's money, right? Like I usually say, you know, the problem is money, but money is not the problem.
A lot of our youth today they feel that, you know what, I'm not gonna go up there and intern someplace. I need somebody just to roll out $1 million for me to get my new joint started. You know what I'm saying? It's not like that.
Usually, people actually have the skills to do the job, but not the skills to manage it, and that's where a lot of the difficulties come in.
It's one where the responsibility falls 120,000% on you.
Understand what you're going after. Understand there's a target market. Understand there's a need for it. Prepare yourself for it. And my best advice to a lot of people wanting to get into companies is, first of all, you may need to go intern someplace for 3-4 years. And understand that's the business you want to do. Because, you need to learn everything from the mailroom position all the way up to the CEO position.
It's the process you go through in life. It's going through that hustle. That's what really develops us as people and helps us grow.
What we've gone through, we can pass that on to them and give them a little bit of insight of how to get started and what are some things they should actually be putting in check first before they should even contact BBI.
You go through a tremendous amount of experiences being self-employed because you're the do-it-all person. You're a generalist, usually not a specialist in most aspects of your business, but you have to be involved in each.
It's really important that the effort here is that much greater, right? And it's people like yourselves who are involved in initiatives like this that have the cognizance, have the understanding to make a difference in that light.
But we also believe that in order for our businesses to be brought into the mainstream, we have to network more. We have to create that strategy. So we do a lot of networking events, and we encourage people to attend other networking events. So we attend a lot of conferences. Getting your business card, your face, your concept, your skills in front of somebody who can make a difference is very, very important.
There's no such thing as black business, and you have to agree with that. There's business. And there's business initiated by black people. There's business that black people are involved in as consumers. But really, business that enriches anyone enriches everyone.
But what we've seen is that there's a better quality of businesses coming on stream. And a lot of the businesses are sustaining their growth and their strategy.
BBI helps take that pressure off, and they help open the door, and they help access those corridors where normally you would find a lot of roadblocks and obstacles.
Collaboration and joint venturing and things like that are what are moving companies forward.
If we don't find a way to do business together, we're going to find our economy and our social systems crumbling.
You have to start surrounding yourself with some new people, new blood, new energy, and pulling them up, because at the end of the day, in 10 years, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, they're the CEOs of the world.
You have to reach out to the youth and help them feel and understand what empowerment can do for them and their happiness and their state of being.
A lot of people already put these prisons and these gates up in front of them and say, these businesses are already striving and there's no room for me. There's always room for you.
There's always room for you. How many times thank you. That was, I guess everybody would have recognized Damon John from Shark Tank, and Ambassador Andrew Young, maybe a little bit old for some of you here, but some significant voices, Farley Flex as well, and a young entrepreneur. But when I reflect on my own life since that time in 1979 to the things that I'm seeing now in this country, this powerful statement is that we always don't think or overthink. But just remember, there is always room for you to do what you want to do with your life, especially if you're thinking about thriving. Yeah, it's always a chance to think of exposing and supporting the need of black communities with technical knowledge and skill development. And ultimately, the reason why I still get up in the morning feeling hope and caring, it's the same for Sharif and the same for Raymond and the same for Louis Edgar, the 4 CEOs of the 4 areas, is that we want to ensure that the African Canadians is within the economic configuration and that we remain relevant with better supports, with better grassroots organizations and entrepreneurs across the generational spectrum and within all of the communities in Canada. Because if you're not your best, then we have failed. And if you're not your best, then you are failing your children. So you must buy into that concept and be passionate and determined on that. And as usual, at the first challenge or roadblock, don't give up. These are a good basis for us, because during the centuries in the past, there was vibrant trade in the cities of Africa among kings and communities. Toussaint Louverture and Henri Christophe were holding the mighty Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte off in Haiti in a black free economy. And that was like a couple hundred years ago, guys. Zombie was building the Brazilian economy. And at the same time, the Western economy thrived, built on our backs, creating wealth for all but us. It's about time, and it's about us. We can, should, and will reclaim our role in the economy. And it's seriously at a point where we must actually look in the mirror. To steal a phrase from Michael Jackson, we need to look at the man in the mirror. You need to develop your personal vision to take advantage of these exciting opportunities in business skills, trades, professions, education. It is not an easy task, and the commitment has to be there, and we need all of us. We don't need one of us, or we don't need to pull down the one who's leading the charge. We need all of us to know what to do. So what is it that the way forward looks like? What lessons we have learned? Well, I always go back to President Obama in his inauguration address, and I used that a few weeks ago, where he says, in reaffirming the greatness of our nation, we understand that greatness is never given, it must be earned. Our journey has never been one of shortcuts or settling for less. It has not been a path for the faint-hearted, for those who prefer leisure over work, or seek only the pleasures of riches and fame. Rather, it has been the risk-takers, the doers, the makers of things, some celebrated, but more often men and women obscure in their labor, who have carried us up the long, rugged path towards prosperity and freedom. This message resonates with me. It has a couple attributes. You need these attributes for life as well as business and success. It is a formula. 1, get started. 2, don't quit. I believe one of the first steps that you must develop is confidence. And that's the work that Africa Center and all of us are doing. And in order to get confidence, it is mattering and getting the cherished wisdom of folks who have been there before us to make sure that these things happen. So if I go through what we've spoken about for the last few minutes, lesson 1, when it rains in New York, they sell umbrellas. You must have a plan. You must have a plan for the future. If you do not have a plan, make it your plan to make a plan. We must believe in our young black child, already born, right now, living somewhere in Canada, an entrepreneur, possibly an advocate, a politician, sitting right now, maybe sitting among us, will run a company or run the country that does over $1 billion in sales someday. We must believe that. Your country and yourself and your community must believe it and to continue to help your fellow organizations. That's why we are getting the money to invest in you. But we're not just giving you money, because as we said, money is not the problem. We're giving you skills in base camp and other supports to make sure that you cannot fail with the tools that we're giving you and build a solid economy and help to export. We cannot stop now, because when we speak about other communities, these communities are not speaking about the same things we're speaking about. We tend to speak about poverty, and poverty is measured in 3 principal ways. 1, the standard of living. 2, opportunity for consumption. And 3, the right of citizens to participate in society. We have to change that paradigm and think like those guys do, and think of wealth creation and address the standard of living, opportunity for consumption, and your rights. So politically, economy involved, and that's why we're investing in you. This would only happen unless we have sustained economic development by all of our community together. Lesson number 2. Do not be afraid to harness your desire and passion that got you where you are right now. Got you here. You're in front of an opportunity. Take advantage of it. Learn from not Rustum Southwell or Sharif. Learn from each other. Why repeat the same mistakes that guys we speak over and over again? The classic definition of insanity. The reason why franchises work is because the business operation is set on a treadmill of success. Simple plan. It's a design that can be replicated and repeated over and over again, and it takes discipline. In our community organizations, it takes discipline and ethics. Just think of the fast food operations and others who are making those changes. They test them, shift accordingly, retool. Rinse and repeat, as some guys would say. Lesson 3. You must have the discipline and develop a system and work on it. Can't sit up and not use it, right? You must deliver on your promise. Just think of the quote from Nike. Just do it. I mean, you've got a package, just go ahead and do it. A lot of folks in our community, well, I don't know if this person not going to like it, I don't know, this guy down there. Go ahead and do it. Make the change and bear the consequences. Mike Duck is a chap in Nova Scotia who didn't finish high school. Mike was working at a milk shop and used to complain about his Tim Hortons coffee every day to his boss. Guy told him, go out and fix it. He picked on the wrong guy that day. Mike went out in his basement and developed a machine that pours a precision pour of cream, sugar in the coffee. So whenever you actually have a double-double at Tim Hortons, you're supporting a black business owner in Nova Scotia right now. He's selling millions of machines across the world as the top gold standard in those precision pouring machines. He's now in pizza shop pouring the oil and everything else. And furthermore, not to miss an opportunity, he's looking at selling his IP to things like paint companies, because if you buy your paint, you may need to press in the button that pours just the right amount of paint to give it the colors. Masterpiece. So we're seeing those things. Discipline. Lesson 4, deliver on your promise. Deliver on your promise. There's so many people around the country who would call me and ask for help. Some of them are so sincere. Many of them are thankful. I don't care if they call me back to say thanks or not. I give what I can to them. We've opened up our the FACE Coalition. We gave them our playbook to implement. We've worked with the Black Opportunity Fund and others. Freely, I consult with folks who want to speak with me. Some of them have standing meetings, just free to give that, as long as they're delivering. Soon as you don't deliver, delete my email, delete my phone number. I don't have that much more time. We have to do these things now. Over the years, we actually say, you come to the BBI, we don't give you money, we give you a ladder. There's a little Kenyan proverb that I learned that from. We give you the ladder because you have to climb on your own. The ladder is our help. And we understand that there are fast climbers and there are slow climbers. And some people may not want to climb at all. But we give you that tool so you can get yourself out. It's the opposite of crabs in a barrel. We always refer to that one, but nobody ever say, hey, get me a ladder and I'll get myself there. And we have to move towards that level as well. Crabs in a barrel is a pejorative term that normally speaks about underrepresented communities, and we hear that a lot in our community. We need to hear more of the positive, because the ladder is an apt metaphor of a journey of our young people, in particular the entrepreneurs, to do that, so we can climb ourselves out of the hole it is. Each generation out of relative obscurity must discover its mission, fulfill it, and betray it. That's the words of Frantz Fanon. Each generation out of relative obscurity must discover its mission, fulfill it, or betray it. I hope with this conversation you would choose to fulfill and not betray our trust. I hope that after this day, you will see that despite the heavy economic burden of COVID and others over the last few years and the elevation of anti-Black racism in the US and Canada included, we will hope that you would sit here and say, I will leave today and the rest of this week and fulfill my mission. Whatever divine intervention brought me here, that is the reason why we're here. And that's what I would go out to do. Today and the way forward, I want to fulfill my mission. It's been a year like no other year. The best of times, the worst of times. But even in challenging times, we are still making major strides. It is a time for a new paradigm to fight against anti-Black systemic racism. Yes, a year like no other. A year with momentum. We could finally see the way forward that is found on a path to the wilderness of the head and the heart, reason and emotion, thinking, knowing, understanding. For all of us, the way forward must reflect this path. On the 15th anniversary of BBI, I put some thoughts together on what the way forward would look like. Have a look at this.
Look upon me closely, for I'm the way of the future. See me now, for I'm a successor of your hard work in the past. Our dream together of converting mud huts into palaces is now possible because you have taught me the correct path to travel and shown me the way. You did what you promised you would do. Now I will help you lead the way forward. I will lift us out of the dim, misty valleys of slavery, suffering, doubt, and despair to that promise of a bright tomorrow in a cool, green, peaceful, sunlit place. I will be the master builder, the chief innovator of an economy so strong, many may wonder, who is this amazing businesswoman? I shall deliver on my promise. I'll be ethical in all my dealings. I'll lead those who are ready and willing to take my helping hand as we travel together on this new journey of economic and business success. But what is the way forward? I know what it isn't. It is not as we once believed, plenty to eat and a fancy home with all the modern conveniences. It is not the latest hip-hop fashion or flashing weapons inside the coolest Beamer. It is not the latest cell phone, BlackBerry, iPod, or fastest computer. It is not perfume, creamy crack relaxer, or the latest Jimmy Choos. According to Lawrence Gonzalez, author of Everyday Survival, the way forward is found on a path through the head and the heart, reason and emotion, thinking, knowing, understanding. For all of us, the way forward must reflect the path of our history. From the Black Loyalists, Maroons, and refugees, to Africville, the Prestons, Whitney Pier, Vale Road, Amherst, Beachville, and Weymouth. It is a road that includes all of us in African diaspora, because together we are stronger, we are better. I will not settle for anything less. I'll expect hurdles, but not give in to them. I will not stop my first victory. I will continue to the end. This is my anthem. This is my passion. This is my destiny. I look towards the future because that's where I'm going to spend the rest of my life. Look upon me closely. Take my hand, show me the way forward, and release me into the future. I am. Jaden Dixon.
When I wrote that, I wanted a young voice. And for those of you in Halifax, you may have met Jaden. I thought her mom is a good friend of ours. I thought her voice would be perfect for that when we filmed it. But the recent months has seen SBCCI continue a period of change with complexity and opportunity for engagement of all partners, which you all are, with black not-for-profits across Canada. With this context in mind, I find that these two words are very important: progress and momentum with what we have accomplished. So let's not lose the progress that we have, and let's keep up the momentum. If you want to sleep well at night, you need to do this, because you don't want me coming to wherever you're sleeping to say, you promised me in Edmonton that you're going to keep up the progress. And I know all of you in here, and I'll get you if you're not keeping up the progress and momentum. I'm serious. This year, I'm pleased that we are seeing such good progress and building momentum. Ultimately, we are changing the parameters, and we are making a difference so that the federal government and our own communities knowing that the grassroots black organizations are well on the way. And we continue to do our work with that. I think, want to save some time for questions. I think I may have burnt all of your time. But as always, I promise to continue building capacity, and I think that we have to do it right now. I don't believe that we have time. We need to get together. And just as a reminder, the way forward is found on a path to the wilderness of the head and the heart, reason and emotion, thinking, knowing and understanding. I will not settle for anything less. I will expect hurdles but will not give in to them. I will not stop at my first victory. I will continue to the end. This is my solemn anthem. This is my passion. This is my destiny. I look to the future because that's where I'm going to spend the rest of my life. Look upon me closely. Take my hand and let me show you the way forward and release you into the world and onto the future. I am Rustum Southwell.
I don't know if you have time for questions. I think there's no more time. Thank you so much, Mr.